Welcome to the On Purpose and For a Purpose podcast. I'm Savannah.
And I'm Claire. Our mission is to support women in discovering their purpose in everyday moments.
And each Monday, we promise to walk alongside you as you seek and understand God's Word with confidence.
So wherever and however you listen, we hope you leave inspired and empowered, knowing that you were created on purpose and for a purpose. All right, welcome back to our episode for today. We have a little bit of a treat for you guys. So we have Abby Ivy on our episode for today. And just to let you know a little bit background, so me and Abby, we met together at Mississippi State University. We were both involved with the Baptist Student Union. And it was just a really good year that we had together. We both did a lot of leadership stuff and served together. And then it also worked out where we both had classes that we were taking together too. So we just kind of had double interaction going on. So just a really fun time together and just cool to see like how her life has looked like since then, since graduating. So Abby, we're just super excited for you to be on today.
Yeah, I'm so glad y'all asked me to come be on.
So just kind of curious, I know a lot has changed since college years. So I'm just kind of wondering, like, what does life look like for you just lately going on?
Yeah. So since college feels like forever ago at this point, but since college, I did we both got our social work degree, and then I went on and I did the alternate route to teach special education. So then I did that for just a year and a half, and then we moved here, here is Madison, Gluckstadt, Madison. We moved here about a year and a half ago, which is also at the same time that Sam started a new job. And we had our first baby. So a lot of changes all at once. But yeah, so now I stay home. I'm a stay-at-home mom with our 1-year-old who will be 2 in 1 month. Mm-hmm. So, and then we have a little girl coming in March. So just all things family right now. And we currently go to First Baptist Madison, and we teach the college Sunday school class, and we love doing that. And so, yeah, that's pretty much my life right now. I'm just home in church.
That's a cool connection because I grew up in Madison, Mississippi. And so that was my home church whenever I was growing up. So I remember whenever I saw you guys started teaching there and going to church there, I was like, oh, that's my home church. So cool connection.
That's your home church. That's cool. Yeah.
That's really cool. So my question for you is because this series that we're kind of trying to do just kind of until we feel like until we feel like we've kind of closed the chapter on the series, which I would be surprised if we ever get there. But this series is called like Women on Purpose because, this is on purpose and for a purpose is like our mission. And so we wanted to have this series where we talk to real people and ask them, like, what does living on purpose and for a purpose mean to you and in your life, and how are you living it out? And I love that we're able to ask you this question from a perspective of like a stay-at-home mom whose focus is family, which is amazing. Yeah. But I think frequently some women who maybe relate to you can say, oh, I'm just a stay-at-home mom, or like this, I just take care of my kids, or, we kind of tend to diminish it a little bit in we do, like, not saying our culture does, but we tend to do that to ourselves. So I would love to hear your perspective on making those moments or how you help yourself know these moments matter just as much as if I was reporting to a different job or,
I think almost it feels like more of a pressure because it's like, I'm raising up a child, to live the right way, to behave the right way, to love the Lord and know the Bible, and so sometimes that weighs a little bit heavy on me, but he is only 1 or 2, I guess, technically. Yeah. He's so little right now. So, but I'm trying to like get in the habit now of like doing the things I want to do when he's 6 and can remember,
Right.
But reading the Bible, telling him Bible stories, doing all the things that he needs to learn. But I think something else too, like not getting out of the house as often. When I do get out of the house, I try to be intentional with my conversations. Like at Walmart, whoever's checking me out, I try to have an intentional conversation with them. And that is much easier said than done. I mean, it takes courage no matter what situation you're in to talk about Jesus or have a gospel conversation. But I think it's almost made me more intentional because I have fewer times where I can actually, speak to other people who are not a toddler,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And so, like, I think it's been really cool in this season of staying home how I've actually like been more intentional to do that just because I have fewer interactions. So I think about it more when I am actually interacting with another adult. So it's been pretty cool how God has like changed my thought process on, sharing his love and his truth with the people around me every chance I get.
I can so relate to that because I also have a 2-year-old, and there have been times when I will be around adults and like someone will drop something and I'll be like, "Uh-oh, did you drop?" And then I'm like, "I am so sorry. I just realized right now that I have not spoken to another adult." So I am so sorry that I just talked to you like you're two. So I so get that. So I think a question I just thought of that's like on this thread is like, that is how like that's how Abby's intentional and like shows up as a mom, So what are things that like Abby does to show up for herself? Like, do you feel like you sometimes have struggled, like I'm just curious as like mom to mom, I'm
Yeah.
curious if sometimes, like I remember being someone that was like, when I'm a mom, like I'm not going to be defined by being a mom, like I'm still Savannah, I still have things I'm interested in, I still have this part of my personality. But then you become a mom and you're like, wow, it's really easy for that to kind of become like who you are.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, like, what are things that you try to do to intentionally remember, like, I am Abby and I am a mom, but I'm also like a daughter of your parents and like a sibling and a friend, but also like a daughter
Yeah.
of our king. And like we have a relationship with him. And I'm just curious how maybe you've seen that change in motherhood, but
Hmm.
also just post grad too. Or if you've seen that change, would be curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I feel like that's like when I hear people talking about like, still doing the things they enjoy and love, but like I've never been one to like have a hobby or like I've never played sports or,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So when I think of like who I am, like now it really is hard to think of myself as anything but Sam's wife, Layton's mom,
Yeah.
But I do think I have recently picked up a hobby. Never had a hobby in my life. My mom is a seamstress, and I've recently started embroidering,
Oh
which
yeah.
Oh,
is just
wow.
like putting my kids' names on their shirt.
Yeah.
But it's so fun. It's been a really good like outlet for me. So I think that in a way is it's not, I mean, that's not who I've always been. I just started doing it like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
But it's a good way to just like breathe, not be on my phone. And like, it's just a good thing to do with my hands. And just, maybe if we've had a rambunctious day, it's a good way to just kind of settle down at the end of the day. Yeah, I don't know. To me, that's always been a hard question. Like, I hate when people
Mm-hmm.
say, tell me, like, what do you do? And it's like, I do nothing. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
But I do feel like, yeah, you have to find those ways to not just like be so wrapped up in your toddler's life because, you are still an adult and a child of God. Like, this season has been a really cool season for me. Just like digging deeper into God's word and having so
Mm-hmm.
many more opportunities to do that than I had in the past, which is like so backwards of what I expected. I thought, oh, I'm having a kid and I won't be able to do anything. I've been able to
Mm-hmm.
do so much more than I even did when I had the time,
I'd love for you to go ahead and share more about that specific season. Like, how have you been able to find that time to implement like different ways of worship or different ways to study? Because I feel like that's the heart of that question. Like, when you're asked, like, what defines you other than just like being a, wife, mom, whatever. Like, when we look at like our relationship with the Lord, like, what are we doing to feed that too? Because I feed my relationship with my husband, I feed it all the time. I feed my relationship with my son to all constantly. I'm always pouring into that. So then expounding more on like, okay, well, that's fulfilling those duties, but what am I doing to fulfill like the most important relationship in my life? How am I
Right.
pouring into that? What does that look like? Even if it has changed, how do you feel like you're able to be intentional in those moments too, when all these other relationships are great and good, and it is perfectly
Right.
fine if we feel like, I feel like motherhood is my calling. That is
Yeah.
fabulous. Like there's absolutely no diminishing that. But also, we can't have that be our number one and not pour into what matters and our source of life,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So I would love to hear about how you found more time to do that.
Yeah. So I think for me, it was easy to say, I don't have time for that. Well,
Sure.
I think it started with my son was a very needy, difficult newborn,
Sure.
and that lasted quite a few months.
Mm-hmm.
So that that took a lot out of me, and so I thought, so during that season, I will admit I like hardly, rarely read my Bible, did any type of Bible study, whatever. I was not doing what I was supposed to be doing to grow in my relationship with the Lord. So it really started this past summer. So I usually go to a Tuesday morning Bible study, which I'm only able to do because I stay home, which is really cool. And most people who attend are retired. But I do have one other stay-at-home mom friend who comes with me. But so like that has been cool to be able to do that, and it has homework. So like I come home, I do the homework, and that it provides for me a Bible study time. But that Tuesday morning has been a really sweet time for me to get to know mostly the older ladies of our church who are just who I need to get to know. You know, they have the wisdom, and they just love on me really well. So that's been cool, especially being new to the area and new to the church. That's been a cool way to get like Christian fellowship with other women. So then this past summer, what I was saying, that ended for the summer, and I was doing nothing. Like I just felt like there's nothing going on in the summer. And my husband travels a lot with his job, so he was gone a lot. We can't go to everything because we have a crazy time. Like me and my son can't go to everything because he's crazy. And so I just kind of felt like I was in a place of like, okay, I'm not growing. I feel like I'm almost going backwards. So then August came, and I had signed up for all these things to do, and it was going to be 4 different like homeworks to complete throughout the week, if that makes any sense. So like it was a small group, D group, the Tuesday morning Bible study, and I started this seminary degree. It's not a degree; it's a certificate for ministry wives, and so that started in August, and that's been really cool to learn how to be a better wife, be a better just. It's helped me just in my walk with Christ, which is what I wanted, you know. But that's a 2-year thing, so I'm going to be doing that for 2 years, and then I can't think of what the fourth one is, but it was just a bunch of Bible studies and a Wednesday night Bible study, just at church. And so although that was very overwhelming to think, okay, I have 4 Bible studies that I have homework for. Let's do this. And it has grown me so much just since August, you know, and, but it feels like I can't ever go back to the way I was functioning before I started this, you know? And so I've learned so much in such a small amount of time. It's been really cool for God to show me like, hey, like you can do it. Like you're just coming up with excuses to not get into my word, to not read, you know, just being lazy. So that's been really cool lately. And God has really opened my eyes to how selfish I've been with my time and my commitment to Him and to learning and growing as a Christian. So yeah, that's been really cool. And I just find the time. You know, it's easy to say, oh, I have a toddler, I can't do it when he's awake. I can only do it when he's asleep, which is how I started. And then like there wasn't time for that. Like I couldn't get it all done. So I started doing it while he was awake. And so what if he wants to play with the book for a little bit? He'll give it back and I'll finish, you know. You know, it's just figuring it out along the way and just learning what works and how to get it done. Because when you're going to meet up with these other girls, like they're holding you accountable to finish your homework. And that's what I needed to show me like, hey, like you need this accountability. You need to continue in this accountability. And so whether I have that in the future or not, like I'm learning right now good ways to dive into the word with a toddler, no matter what my situation is. So, and I read in one of my readings this past week, one of the quotes an author said was, like, our relationship with the Lord is personal, but it's also like supposed to be in fellowship with other believers too. And so it's okay to do Bible studies that are with other people too. But the homework is just me and God, and then we come with other believers and we discuss it. And so it's been really cool.
I love how you talked about the kind of taking like those opportunities, like seeing those opportunities and where they are, and then walking in obedience of those, even if
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, I may be the only stay-at-home mom, or like I may, all these other people may be a bit older than me, or like just in a different season of life too. Because I think sometimes that fear of, oh, I'm the only person that's going to be in this bubble can stop us from going into those areas where we actually meet people who are in different seasons from us, but it's like our differences that help us grow.
Yes.
Because like the Lord's trying to teach us how, oh, we could benefit from other differences to like actually come together and like have different perspectives on God's word and like what he wants to teach us. Like sometimes we need those people who are in different seasons or different generations. Like those are some of the best friendships to have.
Yes.
So I just love how you were talking about just taking those opportunities and like walking in obedience and just kind of being like, okay, Lord, like I'm surrendering this, whatever the outcome is of this, like that's going to be surrendered to you, but like I'm just going to walk in and see, and show up and just see what happens.
And I didn't used to be brave enough to do that, but I was like, I need to get out of the house, like I need to.
Yeah, I think too, like one of the things I want to ask you, so I know that just since I've known you and Sam since college, y'all have always been very, very just direct and like wanting to serve and just seeing different opportunities of where to serve. I feel like that's just been you in my image of just since I've known you, and just so like community driven. And so I think seeing that when we were in college, seeing how y'all, ministered to other college students, but then afterwards, like graduating, getting to kind of see your story unfold since then, like now working with college students, just kind of curious, like with all of that, what have been some things that you have learned through from that, but also like what have been some challenges too? Just maybe kind of talking a little bit of like the highs, the lows, like things that were really awesome from those experiences, but also any sort of, challenges you might have faced too.
Yeah, there's always going to be highs and lows in any kind of ministry and whatever. And it's funny you say that, like, you think of like me serving and stuff, but like that, I feel like Sam has really pushed me to be like that, which is awesome. Like, like I need him to push me to do that. He's a lot more like, hey, y'all, everybody come over. And I've learned to love that, but it's not really my natural to just be like, everybody come to my house, but it's been the biggest blessing ever. So I say we, so Sam was the BSU director at the W in Columbus for like almost 5 years. And so some of that we were dating, some of that we were engaged, the end of it we were married. So that was like a weird, it was a weird transition, a weird season when I was the same age as his students. But God has taught me lessons in every season, every year. But now we're not directly working with BSU students. He is, I guess. He goes to all the campuses, but now he's working at the Baptist at the Mississippi Baptist Convention Board in Jackson, and so he kind of has more of an office job, which he's hardly ever in the office. He's always at the BSUs, but I don't get that interaction with the BSU students as much. So that's kind of why we wanted to teach Sunday school at our church, and there was a need there to teach the college class. So it was just really cool how everything was lining up for us to still be able to, like teach and live life with college students. So I think one of the things that I have really learned is to just be genuine, always be yourself, whether it's somebody that's hard to talk to or you have a super close relationship and they're always at your house. It doesn't matter. Like, you have to be yourself and you have to be showing the love of Christ to everyone always, whether they are new or just visiting, and just being that welcoming face, showing them the love, but also like teaching them what it's like to live for Christ. And Sam is good at verbally teaching. I'm not good with my words usually, but I like to be, the welcoming face. And I think you just find your spot where God has like gifted you to minister best to students. And so I like to find, I think God has gifted me to see like the students maybe who are like more nervous to talk to people, because that can be me a lot of times too. I walk into a crowded room and it's like, okay, I just want to turn around and leave.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think it's important to make those students feel welcome. And yeah, but I think just being genuine and loving them just the way they are, inviting them into your life just the way your life is. We aren't perfect, we can't be perfect. My house is dirty, but come on over anyway. So just no matter what season you're in, what mood you're in, we are that light for Christ no matter what. And so I feel like being a ministry wife can be different sometimes because we're not the minister and we're not just a volunteer. We still live in that fishbowl, but we're not the main person. So it's just finding our place. I think it's been really cool. It has been such a blessing to me. I like that I'm not the one in charge, but I really love being there and spending time with the students, the college students. And college is a hard age. You're making tough decisions. You're figuring out how you want to be different from when you were a teenager, but also figuring out how you're about to be an adult,
Oh, yeah.
And I think God has truly gifted Sam with the ability to minister well to college students. And then I just, try to support him and encourage him and however I can. But it's been really cool that God has put us in the college ministry world, because they're although that's a hard age, they're pretty easy to minister to because they want the relationships. They want to come to your house because they're in college, like they don't come to a house very often. They want somewhere they can feel comfortable and have a home cooked meal.
I think too with college, and I was wondering with your experience too, does that sometimes help you kind of remember what you were walking through in college and seeing people and having that relatability to have with them of, just having that experience that you've had and then being able to either have that relatability or have those differences too, to just being able to like pour into them? Do you sometimes reflect on your time in college as well?
Oh, definitely. When they come to us with stuff or just make comments, I'm like, okay, yes, I remember being there, And I specifically remember when God really I feel like I crossed a threshold to becoming like not just a college student anymore, not just Sam's wife who's still kind of young and kind of our age, but like I really feel like God like prepared me and made me who I needed to be to minister to the college students. And it was probably like a year or two after we had been married. And so like you just live and learn and as they live and learn, and some of the things they come to us with, it's like, wow, I wasn't prepared for that, but they weren't either. So I think it's just like relying on the Lord, relying on the Holy Spirit. And also my past experiences as a college student definitely helps to remember like what it felt like to be a college student and what it felt like to be a freshman or a senior or just that in between stage, So it definitely helps to remember my experiences in college.
Well, thank you so much, Abby, for everything you've said so far. It's been such, like, I have loved listening to you. I love, you were saying a second ago that you just try to be genuine, and I have 100% felt that through this conversation. But as we get ready to close, I was just curious, like, if there's any encouragement that you'd like to give to the women who are listening, whether they are interested in ministry at their church or if they're a ministry wife or if they're even in college, and because you work closely with that age group, or people just in general, if they're like, I don't know where to start, but I feel encouraged by this conversation and I'm ready to do something. Is there any encouragement that you have for that person?
Yeah, I think it's always just taking that bold step. That's a scary step to take to whether you want to help with a ministry, help with the youth at your church or the children or with a local ministry like BSU. But no matter what you're doing, it takes boldness, and it takes relying on the Lord to give us the strength and the wisdom that we need to do what we as humans like kind of can't do without the Lord, you know? And so it's just reliance on the Holy Spirit and stepping out and saying like, hey, I want to do what the Lord's calling me to do, and whatever that may be. And so God has called us to currently teach this college Sunday school class. And so I think if maybe somebody wants to volunteer and they feel like, oh, I don't know, they wouldn't want me in there, or I don't really know how to start volunteering in that, you know, just do it. Just reach out or just show up. You know, nobody's going to turn down your willingness to serve. And so I just think and it is important. Like God gave us all get different gifts, and we all are supposed to come together to use our different gifts to glorify Him and bring others closer to Him. And so I think just relying on the Lord to help you take that bold step of faith to do whatever it is, sharing the gospel, whatever it is that God's calling you to do.
Yeah, I like how you had mentioned too of just that act of like showing up, and kind of going back to something that you said earlier where you were talking about how you could kind of see in certain seasons how the Lord had prepared you, like hindsight. And I've definitely seen that too within my life, of just how sometimes being nervous or fearful into like not wanting to step into a situation, how actually stepping into that situation and doing something helped me prepare for something else to come. And so I think that that's also just great encouragement too, of just show up and see, you know, like you'll find your place in if you show up, and seeing how that can prepare you for something even beyond like our understanding or beyond years to come. And just seeing how like God puts those puzzle pieces together is just really cool.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, we are just this was such a treat. Like, thank you so much for being on with us today. And it was just so good to catch up, but also just getting to hear like all the great things that are going on within y'all's ministry and just within your family. I know that so many women are going to be encouraged by this, and I just thank you so much for being here.
Thank y'all for having me. It was an honor for y'all to ask me.
Hey, podcast fam. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode today. I hope that it was encouraging and uplifting to your week. We just love to connect with you guys. So if you haven't already, give us a follow on Instagram at On Purpose Podcast. It is a great way for us to hear from you and for us to just share a little bit of different things around these topics and discussions to continue those conversations online. We also would love for you to leave us a review sometime if you have a chance. This is a great way for us to hear a little bit about what you think of the podcast, and also any sort of topics you want us to discuss in the future. We just love being able to connect with you guys on many different platforms. So with that being said, I hope that y'all have a great rest of your week, and that you'll tune in with us next Monday to learn more about how to live on purpose and for a purpose.